Meta Perspective Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to Meta Perspective Podcast. We're your hosts, Alex,
Evan,
and the girl. This is the show where we talk about deep and interesting topics and try to get to the heart of the idea through different perspectives.
But if you are joining us for the first time, please give the channel a follow and the video a like. We plan to do random giveaways, things like that, so it doesn't hurt to stay active.
Speaking of staying active, don't forget to jump in that chat. We love you a part of this conversation as much as we are. I mean, obviously, Meta Perspective isn't meta without your perspective. Boom.
Yeah, we got the chat pulled up there, so let us know what you guys think. We can see it, so we'll join in. If you guys join in, we'll respond to you no matter what we're saying.
Yeah, and if you guys ever have your own topics to throw in, do it.
Yeah.
We'll remember.
And if you're watching this in post or the uploaded video, just leave a comment. We'll respond, and you can let us know what you think about what we have to say. This is the 5th installment and the final installment of a new thing we're doing, a series. We're doing a series on the mind. So we spent the last 4 episodes discussing the mind in different aspects. You can check that out on our channel. We basically started off by kind of giving our overview of how we see the mind, because this is something that we've been friends for a long time. We've talked about this stuff, so we kind of tried to articulate it into a multi-form episodic, explanation. So we started off by how does the mind work? Then we went into kind of the some of the downfalls of the mind, the mental health kind of topic. We talked about the social aspects, like living in, dealing with people, yourself, and the frame of that. What was the last one we did? It was the ego. We talked about the ego. And there was one other one.
The first one was like
how it works.
And then the good, the bad.
The good. Well, we haven't. The good is kind of tonight, right?
What was the good and the bad? Or I guess the negative.
Yeah. So
the
how
first
it works,
was
the negative, the social, the ego. Oh, that's it. And then number 5. So tonight we're going to focus on how you should use the mind, and I would urge you to check out the other episodes where we kind of talked about the different aspects. Tonight is really going to be what does it all mean? How does it help you? How do you live your life? How do you take away something? All the things that we've discussed in this past 5 episodes. What does it all mean, and how to do something with it? So I feel like the best way to start this conversation off is just jump right in. In previous episodes, we've talked about how there's a difference between the conscious being part of you, you could say the spirit, things like that, and the physical thinking brain. The physical thinking brain is an organ. It's a tool. It's meant to help us survive. It does certain things. It tells us, don't approach that group because, 60,000 years ago, if you approached a group and they didn't like you, you would starve or you would be beaten with a club. There are real life implications to failing socially. The same way as all this anxiety that we feel in our modern day, these are all have roots to help us survive, in a archaic and dead world at this point. So we're all kind of living with these ailments, and that is the thinking brain. So I want to distinguish the thinking brain from the conscious self. And, to start off this discussion, that this is really where you want to end up. Most people live their life in a state of reaction. They're reacting to everything that's going on externally, and they feel like they just need to react to it and flow with it and go with the flow. That's kind of like, that's a perspective that people have, is go with the flow, this and that. You don't have really control, but you deal with it. That is a perspective that does help you more than going with the flow and just reacting, however, because it's going to tend to be a negative reaction. But going with the flow only gets you so far. To get to the next level, you need to become a manifester. You need to take control. And you had something to say.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. Going with the flow thing, it can be dangerous too. It's like the sin of sloth, but like psychologically, how you frame things, how you view things, your perspectives. Only because we haven't talked about this before, I wanted to bring it up because kind of an interesting perspective.
Keep going. I'm going to adjust this.
Will you turn it down? Is that not too bright? Oh, the camera. Yeah. That needs to be adjusted too. But I feel like it got turned up too. It's just really bright. Yeah, seems bright. Yeah, it's at the top of the beam. Top. Like put your hands in the air like you just don't care. It's up there. Like between your arms. Yep. Way up. You gotta jump. No, I was kidding. Go around to the other side, you should be able to see it.
This power thing?
Yep, there's a little knob. Oh. How fun is that, huh? Talk about playing God.
Like that, right? Look good? Better? Higher?
Switch to main. Go a little higher. No, switch to main. A little higher. Yeah, like right there.
Turn it lower.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, like right there. That's still lower than it was.
Okay, all right. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, that angle was driving me crazy too.
Sorry about that,
I don't
folks.
like that side face in there. It's
One of us must have bumped the camera.
It was me.
All right, sorry. As you were saying, go with the flow thing.
Yeah, I feel like when you go with the flow with stuff, part of the issue is by default you're just accepting like things happen, bad things happen, and one, I think that perspective and that default stops you from being able to really dive into it and really be a part of it, and I don't think you get as much out of it. And I think that's, the whole point of life is like, it's the struggles that make us stronger. It's nothing you become that's like quantifiably a better version of you doesn't take some kind of pain in some form.
Yeah.
Like everything does.
That is
so that's why I say it's in that gray area of like you're almost just kind of accepting things as they are. When you go with the flow, it's like stuff will happen, but it's really just a defense mechanism, I believe, to kind of protect yourself from painful stuff by default saying, I'm already accepting it. Always keeping yourself a little subpar, which as a result, everything has two sides. Every coin has two sides. So the other side of that is you're not going to feel as intensely when it comes to the good either. So like when you get praise, it's going to be like, oh, thanks. But like my default is like, it has been go with the flow for so long that it's kind of like, what's the point of anything? Like I've just accepted, like I'm making it through. Well, so it's like when you praise me, I'm not getting as much out of that praise as I would if I had everything on the line to gamble as well. It's like when somebody says you've done something amazing here, you just helped my family, and you just feel in your core like I really did do a good job, instead of like whitewashing it because you're also afraid of the flip side because somebody passes and it just hits you like intensely and you grow from it, or it somebody passes and you just go, hey, you know, that happens, and you just kind of
Well,
move.
yeah,
You just
so-
let time pass, and then you just never really learn anything. You just like don't think about it until enough time's passed to be like, all right, that was a while ago.
So yeah, I want to caveat that with like the go with the flow thing is in a general sense. What I'm talking about is people not knowing that they have control over their perspective of their own lives, and they're just going with the flow of what happens to them, and they're responding. They're responding to the external.
Exactly.
But there is something inherently true to the go with the flow mentality that you can't. While you can control your mind, you can control your perspective and how you frame things, and how you can control a lot of aspects of the outcome of your life based on your mind control. You can't control everything. So some things you do actually have to go with the flow in the way that you understand that you can't control them and you have to deal with them. But
Well,
you don't have to just react to them like you're adrift in the fucking ocean.
Yeah.
It's like, you're a boat, you have a sail. If you're getting high winds, take your sail down and just wait it out or something, metaphorically. But there's
Yeah, no, there's definitely places for it. You know,
Yeah.
when it's something outside of you, but that's why I say it can be damaging. It can be detrimental if your default is just go with the flow.
yeah.
You know?
I guess what
but in situations it's good. The reason I say it being habitual is a problem is because it gets so normalized that there's never really a point of like reconciliation with the moment.
Right.
So because you're constantly there, so it's like it's just more of a defense mechanism, but there's a way to use it properly, which would be in like specific moments, like you're hanging out with a buddy, you're at the bar, you guys are having a great time, and your mind's just empty. You just for once want to just let loose, just like you just want to clear your mind, you want to relax. You're watching the game, and then cops come in and grab them, and they're like, we got you. You're wanted for all these heinous crimes. You've been abusing a lot of random guys at bars. And I'm like, what? And then, they tackle him down. He pulls a gun. He shoots a few shots off while he's on the ground. They're just flying around the bar. It's like, that's one of those moments you might not fully, they have it under control. But in that moment, you got to sit there and be like, I got to let this pass. Until I have a moment where I can really digest everything that's just happened, because I didn't think he did that to guys at bars. I wouldn't have gone out with him. I would have stayed at home.
right. Well,
I would have stayed at home.
Hopefully you don't have friends like that.
Don't.
We
Don't
don't
have friends like that.
We don't do that stuff.
No.
But okay, so I guess let me just cut through all of that and establish kind of the core of what I'm getting to is that there are people that think that, just as we talked to the ego, I am who I am myself, I'm Evan, I am a person, and I have certain qualities and characteristics, and I do certain things, and that sounds like me. Oh no, that's not something that I would do. It's like we have this perception of us as a permanent, static thing that can't be changed, and that's our mind, that's our ego, that's our self-perceived identity that we're holding on to because it makes us feel real. Well, I'm here to tell you today that who you are is not real. It's up to only you. Other people's perceptions will add to that, but I know from personal experience, I'm not the same person when I wake up in the morning as when I'm hanging out with friends later in the afternoon. I'm not the same person talking to my boss as I am talking to someone who I want to gain rapport with or something like that. Like there's a way that I process these situations, and it who I am is a fungible concept at that point. I am whoever I want to be, and it's up to me. And I think what I'm getting to with this whole idea of most people are stuck in the reactionary, external, do unto thee mindset is that you really need to break away from the idea that your mind and who you are is is what it is. You need to gain control. I guess at the end of the day, what I'm saying is you need to learn how to gain control of your mind and your life to where you are no longer reacting to situations. Now you have some say. You're in the driver's seat, so to speak. You have your hand on the wheel and the stick shift, and now you can decide whether accelerate, decelerate, go into reverse. Like, you are actually capable of driving where your mind goes, given that you understand that the concept of yourself is never a static thing.
Well, it's like you're in a car and you every day you're driving to work. You drive to work and then you drive back home. And then one day it clicks, like, I'm in the car. I can go anywhere. I don't have to go to work and I don't have to go back home. I can go anywhere I want. It's a silly analogy, but it's kind of like that Adventure Time episode. It's called The Real You. There's a part he's seeking knowledge. He's trying to figure out how to become smart because he wants to impress Princess Bubblegum. And she's hosting a big science barbecue. It's a whole science barbecue. And he's not thinking of bringing food. He's like, I don't need a side. I need a... Thought something clever would come to me there. I need something clever to come to me to hear. And
a knowledge to chew on.
Yeah. Damn. That was good. Yeah. So, he food for thought. And
yes, that's it.
Should have come to me earlier. I don't know what happened. It's my brain.
It was in there. I didn't say it, but you completed it.
You definitely helped me with that one. But that's the idea. Is he wanted and that's key. Is he really in his heart? He wanted. And now maybe she was, whatever it is that, whatever your reason to get there is. You could say, I want to be a better person to be a better person. If that works for you, great. But if you say, I want to be a better person for my wife, or I want to be a better person for my kids, or I want to be a better person to become successful, whatever it is, make sure it's something you're genuinely passionate about. So in this episode, he's obviously passionate about Princess Bubblegum. He's like, I need to impress her. I have to. So he goes to school and learns that there's no learning in school. And he's like, boo. And he goes to another thing, and there wasn't nothing there either. And books are boring. So then he was like, Jake was like, hey, why don't we just use magic? And he was like, yeah, let's do magic. I didn't even think of that. So they go, and there's these glasses of Narnia. So he puts them on. When he puts them on, automatically everything zooms into his skin, into his molecules, his atoms, into energy, and then it goes back through all the way down into the universe, which, like, basically everything breaks down so small that the universe is made up of energy. Everything is everything. Point is, he goes all the way back through the universe, back to Earth, back to him. Now, what that's...
As if the planets are atoms.
But no, that
right. It's like it goes...
Your molecules are made up of atoms, and those atoms are made up of energy. And energy, whatever it's made up of, when you get to the very bare bones of everything, that is kind of, I mean, it's gone through all of ancient history.
Right,
this is one of the...
Right. Yeah,
This is something I recently found out, which was surprising, is that through almost all ancient history, when it came to recording, almost all of them theologically, one of the number one things they recorded is that everything is everything. It's one of the most universal truths that's ever been recorded throughout time. Like something that they're trying to preserve to let other people know is what they are. So...
Right, so this is your celestial playground, so to speak.
So this is like the physical explanation for what happened in this cartoon. Now, I've actually experienced it, and I've seen it in multiple other shows. I've seen it at least once or twice, maybe twice. I've seen it a few times. Just recently saw it again in reverse, where it was the opposite side. It was The Simpsons, where it went the opposite way. Now, the reason this is important is it's exactly what you're saying. That is the process. That is the experience. You need something in you to push you to go explore this. And then your mind will do the rest, and you'll eventually reach it. But what it is there's a point where essentially you do go kind of into yourself. Right now, It's like, this is a version of you that's just reacting to everything going on, and this is life, and you understand life because it's what you've been taught. And then you have an experience where you go into yourself, and it goes so far through the universe that you fly back into yourself, but you're no longer you in this plane. You've gone through, and it's almost like you've looped, and now you're like that. You're no longer you in this chain that's going on.
You've separated.
You've found a way to go like ahead of that chain, in a sense, to where now it's pre-predictive, to where it's like you understand, you can see yourself before things happen more. Like as more of as a perspective, not like how you actually see things, but like your outlook on things is more of like, it's not like, oh, that looks fun. It's like, oh, that looks dangerous. It's like, why does it look dangerous? I used to think it looked fun. Well, because now I can see all these other things that before I was in the moment and I was like, fun, like a dog. Is that a ball? But now it's like,
It's reactive.
now it's like, now I see every other thing associated with it because from that experience, but the exact same thing you're saying, it's a separation from yourself, kind of working with yourself from the outside and not just being yourself reacting to the outside. So it's no longer, I am Alex in this universe. It's more of like, I've looped through. Alex has the whole universe in him. So now this is a different ball game.
Yeah, it's like you're going from being the wrench to using the wrench. And this is, it's kind of, it's a very awakening idea that, we grow up and we kind of make sense of our world, and now, we're just reacting to what happens, and we try to make the best decision. Well, at a certain point, you need to separate from the idea that you are just being used as the tool from external stuff, and now you're using the tool. And this kind of comes into like, it's framing. It's framing it like an athlete or something like that. Like they're visualizing the catch before it happens. They see it. They know that they can conquer it, and that it happens because they saw it. Versus if you're just standing in a field and stuff is coming at you, you're going to be reactive. So there's a delay there. And I guess that's a long-winded way to say that basically, like once you realize that you have control over your mind and you're able to kind of separate from, because if you just follow your mind and you react to everything, it's going to be all negative and everything is going to spiral negatively. But as soon as you kind of recognize that pattern, realize that your mind is just a thinking tool. It's not to be taken seriously, and you can you gain a level of control. And once you have a level of control, that just expands, and you can build upon that.
And that's the biggest thing. Once you take that first step,
yeah.
Once you get that little bit of control, there the control roots and it grows. So even if you're somebody who's like, I just don't know where to start, I don't know how to do this, I don't know the questions to ask, then just go with your heart and know what you want for yourself and let that lead you. But I have these fears. You have to get the fears out. That's
right.
That's another one of the universal truths that's been around through all throughout history, is that love is the only truth and fear is the greatest liar. Now, if you look at the Bible, and now this is actually written, passed down all throughout time. But if you look in the Bible, it says the same stuff. It says, do not fear. I tell you again, do not fear. Have no fear. He constantly is saying, do not fear. It's one of the biggest, most repeated things, and one of the most repeated things in the Bible is to not fear, because fear is a liar. Fear is ignorance to all understanding.
Fear is the mind killer.
So it's like you could have plenty of options, but fear says you don't. It's lying to you, but that fear is what you listen to. So if you get the fear out and just say, this is what I want. I want to be happy. I want inner peace. And you hold on to that. And you're like, that's going to happen for me. Like if it hasn't already, like I'm going to believe it's already there. Like I'm going to try to imagine feeling it. Why? Because it's what I want. When you think about it enough, you're passionate about it, you'll have an experience, or you'll have some kind of epiphany. Something will happen which gets right to where you're saying, which separates you from I'm the person reacting to the world to, oh, I now understand how everything works. I understand why I react and how I react. And now I have all the knowledge of what is to react. So I can't keep reacting. I can't be who I was, because I'm now the person with the knowledge, separate from the person that you cannot just react to this world if you understand how you react.
So let me present some
That sounded
bullshit.
stupid. That sounded really stupid.
I see where we're going. Okay,
I'm gonna
so
go pee. That sounded stupid. I gotta reflect.
all right. Well, let me present a scenario, and this will be a scenario that just involves you. We can talk about a scenario that involves someone else, but for now, let's just say that you're driving in your car on the way to work, and there's traffic, and you're kind of becoming, oh, we got a chatter, Jimmy Goddard, or Jimmy Goddard. Sometimes we have to turn off outside chatter. That's exactly true. You know, there's a lot, like, especially in our modern world, there's so much stimulus. There's so much, stimuli is the best way to say it. There's so many inputs, and it kind of confuses what our output is. And let me first start off on an example that involves no one else. So you're driving to work, and you're in your car, and there's traffic now. You realize that you're going to be late for work, and then there's implications to that, right? So, you know, the reactive person is going to start to get pissed off. They're going to see these other cars and the traffic as doing unto them all the negative things that they perceive. When they get there, their boss is going to be mad, and they have no one to blame because of the traffic. It's not their fault. So that, you know, and realistically, it isn't their fault. There's other people on the road. Someone got in an accident. But the reactive person is going to see that scenario, and it's going to start to feel anxiety about being late. They're going to start to feel anger by the other cars on the road. They don't have an outlet to project their anger and their frustration. So they're basically going to be mad at every other car on the road, and they're going to be kind of mad at themselves. So they're taking all the energy and like projecting it inward. So the person who has a little bit of mental control, same scenario, they're in their car, they're going to work, and there's traffic, they know they're going to be late. So instead of getting upset and feeling like the world is doing unto them, they're basically going to say that, okay, I know that I can't actually physically influence this situation. There's nothing I can do right now. I have to sit in my car. I'm going to get there when I get there, and no amount of mental gymnastics, stress, anger, or anything is going to get me anywhere closer. So I have a choice to make right now. I could get there and I could be mad because I had to sit in traffic and I blamed the entire world. I reacted to my situation, and I'm going to be mad at work. And when I show up to work and my boss asks me why I'm late, I'm going to be, traffic, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to have this negative aura about me, and my boss is going to kind of judge me based on that. Or I can realize that I have no control in this situation over the external, realize that I have mental control over the internal, understand that, okay, I'm going to be late. Instead of getting upset, I'm going to turn on the radio, or I'm going to listen to something that gets me pumped, something that puts me in the right mindset. I know that my mind is going to want to react in a negative way, so I have the control to say there's no benefit to thinking that way. There's no benefit to worrying, having anxiety in this moment, because I have no control. So, and then when you get there and you talk to your boss, now you're going to be a little bit heightened. You're going to respond in the different ways. Like, oh, why were you late? He's like, well, man, I left the same time I do every day, and someone got in an accident, and I'm here now, and I've been thinking about our meeting today, and I got some ideas because I had the time instead of worrying about being late. I had the time to think and actually be prepared for when I go. Same way as if I showed up and worked on time.
Yeah, I want to say we got a chat. It's like Jay. Oh, is that what that was? Were you acknowledging that?
Well, no, I didn't acknowledge it when you went upstairs.
Oh, I was gonna say because what you're saying kind of relates to that. So
Yeah.
I guess
Well, I went with
it makes sense why.
Yeah. There's a lot of outside chatter.
Yeah, and it's a huge thing. I mean, we have so many thoughts that go through our mind a day. It's impossible to control them all. But if we can let those pass through more naturally, and we create that habit, it's the same idea. That outside chatter, all that stuff that grabs you, that pulls away your attention. If you can get into a habit of saying, I'm going to hear this stuff. I'm going to see the chatter and let it pass. I'll acknowledge it, but I don't need to invest into it. And
React.
And
you don't react to it.
And then through that, I'll get to a point, and that's what I mean. Like when you react to something, you start investing your emotion into it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And then before it, it's hard to get out because it's hard to get out of the situation or out of the thought because so much is already invested
when you
into
see
it.
all this news about politics and all these things,
but it really
you can't control.
But it really does feel like an investment because it's not just like here's a bad thought, but what if? But what if?
No,
but
I'm
what
not,
if?
I'm not saying that's the wrong word.
But now that you have like 10 but what ifs in that thought, it's hard to just pull out because you're like, I gotta figure this out. I gotta figure out what the what if is. Like, but what if? But so it's like when you can quiet that outside chatter and keep things more just into your mind, where they're your own thoughts. That's where, like you said, you get into that driver's seat, kind of like that. You're the guy with the controller, not the player in the game.
Well, the thing
you're
too,
both playing the same game, doing the same stuff, but you're the one with the controller now. The other guy's just reacting to what you do. Now you're the guy who's controlling it.
Right. The thing is too, though, that there's also internal chatter. There's even more external chatter now in our modern society, but everyone has internal chatter too, and it's this. You gotta deal with it the same way. The external.
Is it funny that I looked when I
channel.
heard external chatter? Like my brain was like, the thoughts, like because after you've already separated that perspective,
it's the
changes.
same. It's the same react. But
it's
you're
funny
reacting
how
to
like
internal, you're reacting to external.
But it's funny how after you've kind of like transformed more towards that, it's like my perspective of it isn't like these are my thoughts. Those aren't my thoughts. That's external chatter.
Right. And
It's just funny that my brain did not go to like social media, what I hear in the news, all that. My brain was like, yeah, all the nonsense thoughts that I don't worry about.
Well, that's one thing. That's the most powerful thing that I took away. If anyone hasn't read the book, The Power of the Now by Eckhart Tolle, I highly suggest it. It put a lot of things in perspective for me as far as being able to control your mind, being in the driver's seat. So just like our chatter here brought up the idea of chatter, there is outside chatter. There's also internal chatter. If you ask,
Wait, is that external chatter?
Well, this is an external chatter talking about outside chatter, and I'm talking about inside chatter. Basically, the whole world.
Welcome to Meta Perspective Podcast. We're your hosts.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like everything is doing unto you internally, externally. It's just it's a soup of crazy entropy. It's just going in chaos and there's no control. But you have the decision to control it. And basically what you need to do, just to give an example of, from The Power of the Now, he says, like, ask yourself, what am I thinking now? What is my next thought going to be? And as soon as you watch your brain, you'll realize that your brain goes all over the place. It thinks about a bunch of stupid shit.
Popcorn.
It starts to sing little songs that are stuck in your head. It starts to do a lot of negative thought patterns and spiraling and all that. But if you just realize that that's just an organ, it's not you. It's not something you need to feed into. The same way as all this external stuff, if you realize that that you have control of how you perceive this world and how you react to this world, then it's all the same thing. You quiet the chatter outside and inside, and then you react in what seems like the easiest way possible. It's like, does this thought that I'm having help me? Should I continue down this path? Because what happens a lot of times is negative thoughts draw more negative thoughts. If you're thinking about a situation and how, maybe you're worried about money, and because you're worried about money, you realize that you won't be able to do this vacation that you're so happy and looking forward to. So now something that's positive in your mind has now been sucked into this negative frame, all because you are worried about this bill that you got in the mail or something that triggered this negative thought, now attracted other negative thoughts. So now my whole world is kind of collapsing internally, and I feel like I'm trapped. I'm falling into a hole. But at the same time, you have the ability to process that information and realize that, of course, there's downsides. There's things that could happen. Everything could spiral from here, but what's the best way for me to handle this? What's the best potential outcome? Should I worry? And if the bad thing happens, it happens. Oh, I worried about it, so it happened, so I was prepared. Doesn't matter. If I worried about it and it happened, it doesn't fucking matter. If I decided to maybe not worry about it as much, be aware of it, maybe make some kind of plan, believe that I could get out of it, and it still happens, well, now I'm mentally better off. The same scenario externally happened, but there was a step there. There was a step of control that I consciously decided I could react and feed into this negativity, or I could understand it and try to rise above it in a way. And at the end of the day, that helps you out more mentally than just being a reactive person. So that kind of mentality allows you to gain control and snowballs at a certain point. The worst thing could happen to you in your whole life, and you're able to handle it.
Yeah, I think very underrated statement is knowledge is power. A lot of people don't understand. It's like I said. I mean,
and I also love ignorance is bliss.
But you don't grow as a
it.
person without pain. You don't get stronger unless you work out. You got to feel the burn.
Right.
You don't just become a leader. You become a leader because you've had to watch suffrage, and you've had to understand suffrage. And once you understood it, you figured out how to beat it.
Yeah.
That's the idea. It's the people who, like I said, go into the habit of go with the flow, where it's like, this can't hurt me if I'm just not present, really, and I'm just going along with it. Those are the people who, you'll see hundreds of people going through suffrage, but it's one person who's like, if I'm going to be suffering, I'm going to try to understand what I'm going through in this moment. I don't need to let it pass by, especially if I don't see it passing. I need to figure out what's happening. Those are the people who have been our heroes through history. The people who are like, I see a problem, but I'm not the one who's like, oh, there's a problem. I need to prepare for it. It's like, I see a problem. I need to figure out and take it down. It's kind of a rare perspective to have, which is why you don't see a ton of people through history just jumping up like, hey, I'll stand in front of the tank. But Tiananmen Square reference, you don't get many of those anymore.
Never happened.
But yeah, that's the idea is you want to understand what you're going through. Everything has something to teach you. So even if there's one thing to have bad thoughts in your head. Like you said, if something stupid goes through your head and you're like, this is negative, does it affect me? How will it affect me? Is this something bad to dwell on? If it's something bad to dwell on, well, that's not going to offer me anything. Unless there's a reason it's bothering me. There's something I need to learn and look at. If it's just beating yourself up, if it's just feeling inadequate, if it's just I can't, or I'm not, or I shouldn't. If it's just a bunch of things about you that you don't want to take that next step towards something you want, or you don't want to repair certain damages with friends, loved ones, or yourself because of fear, whatever it could be. It's like the pain of that is the process to go through it. So if you want to be jacked, you have 20 guys in a room, they all want to be jacked, but not all of them are going to put in the work and go through the pain to reach that goal. And it's the same idea, psychologically. I just think that because of how ridiculous everything's gotten with everything, I think it's more likely that somebody's going to work out than actually work on themselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, just kind of basically going into how these painful things, like whatever it is you're going through, this is the stuff that teaches you. This is how you grow. This is how you get better. I mean, like I was saying, the suffrage, it's like it's the people who go through it and then understand it. I mean, that's the idea of repentance. Repentance is let me go back through everything I've done and see it through truthful eyes. Again, universal truth throughout ancient history, even to now, it's always been, love is truth. So when you apply love to yourself through painful situations and you almost in a sense relive it, but through outside of yourself, through the eyes of love, the situation's entirely different. You learn so much from it because you're not stuck in the moment trying, in the habit of trying to just go with the flow or just deflect it. It's okay, this situation already happened, let's let it hit full force. And that's where you'll go through a change. That's where whatever issues, whatever habitual issues that have been causing your life to spiral, stop. That's where all the negative kind of traits you have to stop, because a lot of people don't understand how much of what they do is, we're all reactive. Most of us are just reactive. A lot of people don't understand how much of what they're putting out there is just reacting to their own trauma. So a situation comes up, but I'm not addressing you. I'm addressing you through my trauma. So it's like, you just said something, but let me respond, like kind of pull back, afraid you're going to hit me, how you're going to judge me, all of this different stuff. You did that one thing gets dealt with, you understand it. Now you're not just able to communicate properly, but you understand all that stuff that happened to you, your childhood, whatever it was. And now you can actually add to this conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy how fast and how big of a change it is.
That's like a psychological archetype too, is the idea of hitting rock bottom. And two things can like rock bottom means the lowest low. Like if you're already low and you go lower, you haven't hit rock bottom yet. Like the idea of rock bottom is that it's a turning point. It is the bottom through which everything from there is upward. And that can, I mean, we talked about not being reactive, but like at a certain point, you have to understand your life situation. If external things are not going your way, it's not necessarily a reflection on you. And you can't see it that way either. Like you have a certain level of control. If you're causing your rock bottom, in the case of maybe doing drugs or drinking or something like that, like that's something you need to reconcile with. But if it's external situations that are beating you down, at a certain point, that is going to positively impact your view going forward. And that's what I'm saying. That's the idea of rock bottom, is that basically you hit a point where your mentality switches because of all that has been done unto you. And now you're better equipped to handle anything coming at you in the future with that context. So, if you were poor and living on the street for 2 weeks and then you got a job and you were barely able to survive or survive like financially for the next like 6 months, and then you finally made it to where you had an apartment or something like that, and now you have a car or something like that, like that is a point where you can look back and be like, I was sleeping under this bridge. I'm never going back there, so I'm going to work harder. So these are the ways that you can frame your negative situations, the things that we all have to deal with, and it's all relative, right? Maybe sleeping under the bridge might be a rock bottom, but also working in a cadmium mine might be a rock bottom. And if you're sleeping under the bridge, at least you can think about you're not working in a cadmium mine. That should make you feel good. That comes into framing.
Go ahead. I want to say it does remind me. There's a Christian song. Great. It's a good song. Like just in general, there's not a ton of worship songs that everybody get down to, but it's a banger. Jamie, listen to this one. It's Andrew Ripp, R-I-P-P, Breakdown. It's called Breakdown. The hook of the song is, "This is not a breakdown, it's a breakthrough." And one of the lines I really like, I like all the lines. One of the ones I like equally like all the others is, he says, rock bottom is a firm foundation. And I like, it hit me when I heard that. I was like, oh my God. Like, I never really thought about it. Because you always think of, like, when you hear the Bible and stuff, it's like a firm foundation is like, this is all truth. This is a standard to set by. But there is almost kind of like an evil truth in a way. It's like a rock bottom. When you hit rock bottom is kind of like your way of saying, it's like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I am. I'm just reacting to everything in my life. But I can say without a doubt that where I'm at, I don't like. And that's huge, because you're setting a foundation saying, I have no control. I don't know which way's up, which way's down. I've lost everything, but I do know that this right here is unacceptable and I can't.
Right. Instead of reacting, you're motivated to change.
It's a firm foundation where you hit rock bottom and you have a place to come up from.
Yeah.
But it's such a good song.
And that's mental mental momentum. Memento mori. It sounds like some like Italian
but
Latin
you have
word.
to take advantage of it. You have to, if you hit rock bottom, you can't just be like, all right, I'll take it easy. No, if you hit rock bottom, you gotta power.
Well,
you gotta power yourself. You gotta stop and be like, let me take all of this, because people don't understand. It's a fleeting moment. You hit rock bottom, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna quit drinking. You'll stop for a couple weeks, maybe a month, and then you'll end up slowly having a beer, drinking a few more. You'll go hit another rock bottom, or you'll do drugs. And how many times do you hear somebody who's like, oh, I was clean for 2 years, then I relapsed. So it was the worst experience of your life. You hated yourself. You got close to death, almost OD'd twice, went to rehab, and then you were sober for 2 years and went back. It's like the foundation is a place where you set things. So if you hit a place, you don't say, whoa, like I hit the bottom, which means I'm willing. Like if you're at your rock bottom, you have the power at that point to literally go through the most revolutionary change of your entire life. Every aspect of your life, all of your memories can be redone. It's such a powerful moment where there's so much energy. It's such a focused point of pain. I mean, it's like anything. Everything has two sides. So if you're at the worst point of all of your pain, somewhere in your mind, you know that all of that means something or could mean something. And that's the thing. There's something in there. If you go into the very thing that has dropped you down, not the situation, because rock bottom isn't one thing. Rock bottom is multiple things. When you right. could have,
it's a mental rock bottom as well as an external.
But a lot of people, when they hit that rock bottom, they use the external. They say, "Yes, this is what happened that got me to my rock bottom."
That's when they makes them feel it.
But that's the problem, is that moment wasn't what made you hit your rock bottom. That you were already at your rock bottom. That moment made you realize it. Now acknowledge it.
Yes. So,
but instead, people acknowledge what happened and they go, "I'll never do what led to that." No, because you'll find another outlet to destroy yourself.
Right, and that's kind of a way. That's kind of what I'm getting at, is that rock bottom is a mental turn. It's a trajectory reversal, and
I just loved when you said it was a foundation, because nobody ever phrased it like that. And that song popped in my head because it's the only other time I've heard it.
Yeah.
And it's rock bottom is a firm foundation. And I don't think people realize the gravity of work you can do on yourself in almost no time when if you can focus.
Yeah.
You know, when you hit that rock bottom, that's when you work on yourself. Really focus and go into that. You don't need to know what to do. Go into it. You're already at your bottom. This is the worst pain ever. Go into all of the other
everything
pain
up from
and
here
let it transform.
is
but
beneficial.
but you don't hit rock bottom. Look at all the pain that's down there with you, and then say, well, instead of acknowledging this and growing out of this, instead of building my foundation from here, instead, I'm just going to look at what got me here and be like, I'm not going to do that again because I don't want to be here again. No, deal with it so you never have to so it's not a place to go to anymore.
Right, and I think, to extend this metaphor, a lot of people feel like they hit rock bottom because of external things. But what I'm trying to make the case as to is that it's a mental reversal. And
exactly,
a lot of people out there are probably either at or heading towards rock bottom mentally. Whether your life situation, your finances, your love life, anything like that may be somewhat intact. You have things to lose there, and you don't want to lose those things. But it's a mental, the idea is that once you gain control, or if you're so plagued with your own mind, there's a point where you are able to take control, and then that becomes your mental rock bottom. So now it's all up from there. So everything that you do from a certain point, once you kind of reach this realization that you are in control and that you have the ability to not only do unto the external as you wish, but to really, like, you are the gardener of your mind. Your mind is a garden. Like, you want a bunch of weeds growing in there? Like, you got to trim the weeds, trim the hedges.
Yeah, when you
sow
hit
the
that rock
seeds,
bottom,
water.
and when you hit that rock bottom, you have to understand that, like you said, that is the time to focus on the internal. Because, again, everybody looks at, like, I hit rock bottom and, it's this stuff. It's like, no, you have to look at the inward. You can't look at what got you there, or you can't look at, why you're there. You have to look at what got you there, what led to it. And when you turn it into that, that's where you get the reversal, where it's, before, I'm not looking at my internal pain, which got me here. And I wasn't looking because I'm afraid to look at it. But once you hit a rock bottom, there's no fear. You are in fear. Like, you
Right.
almost embody fear.
feeds itself.
And once you embody fear, then suddenly it's an equal plane. It's a firm foundation. And at that spot, it's not where you want to be, but that's where you can look at your stuff and look at yourself and be like, okay, what am I to be afraid of? I am, for myself, fear. So if I am fear, there is nothing to fear. So when you look at that stuff, it has that reaction where it's like, if there are no emotions left for this stuff to hold over me, now I can look at this stuff that has had so much control. That is a window. But if you ignore that window and you tell yourself, I'm going to get out of this, and you just won't do this anymore, what happens when you start doing that again? Nothing has ever been fixed, and you're going to end up going right back to the same place, and hopefully you don't die this time again. You got really close last time. I'm just saying, 9 lives. They go quick.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like most people are kind of dealing with the negative sides of their own lives and are trying to find a way out, and that's why we've spent so much time talking about this. But we can let's we got a little bit limited time left. Let's at least give some cadence to the idea of the positive and kind of Well, I'll just say this. We've done at least one, maybe two episodes on the idea of the law of attraction, The Secret, if you've heard of that book or that DVD or movie or whatever. And it's really it was an awakening moment, I think, for both of us. It kind of started our journey, and the book or whatever is probably like 20 years old at this point. We've been friends for over probably about 15 years or over that, and that's how long we've dealt with that kind of information. And initially, that was a big eye opener for me. That was the moment that I've been talking about. We've been talking about all night, where we realized that it's gaining control. It's your thoughts influences your not only your perspective but your reality. If you're worried about money, then you're going to keep seeing things that make you feel like you're worrying about money. If you're living in a place of abundance and prosperity, then even the negative things will seem pale in comparison to to your mindset. And that's kind of what we've really been talking about all night is you need to not only be able to control your thoughts and your reactions and your framing in individual situations, but when you do that, when you have that control, it does actually prolong into like a internal improvement. It's like working a muscle. Like your mental positivity muscle is being flexed every time you reframe a situation as, oh, well, my mind says it's the worst thing ever, but it wasn't that bad. I learned from it. I can feel bad about myself a little bit, but like, it's not my fault. I was just in the moment. I was reacting, and I can do better next time. That's a perfect situation to frame something that went badly versus your normal person's going to see it as detrimental. It's going to hate them. There's going to hate themselves, and it's going to spiral into something worse, where next time that situation presents itself, now I'm nervous. Now I'm afraid to fail. So I'm going to react and behave differently.
And when you hit that rock bottom, it's basically just acknowledging all of those things that you didn't acknowledge in those moments.
Well, I'm not even talking about rock bottom.
But I'm just saying, like, to tie that together, that's what that's doing, is it's reversing all of that damage done. Yeah. That's why it's such an important window.
Well, it's all your perspective.
But that's the whole thing is, it's law of attraction. Whether you are aware of it or not, it works. Whether you're happy or sad, it works. And a lot of us did a lot of damage to ourselves with the law of attraction by not acknowledging it. So we built a lot of like defense mechanisms, ways to protect ourselves. Instead of learning to become stronger despite these things, a lot of us are, crippled by experience. And that's what rock bottom can offer. If you're somebody who's already at that point, is like you have the opportunity, so if you so choose it, to reverse virtually every negative thing, with just a simple perspective. But you're not going to see that perspective. You're not going to see that one like God-minded perspective of your entire life. You're not going to see that unless you're at the point with all of your pain. That's what rock bottom is. It's a vibrational thing. You're at a point of yourself that's so low that it really doesn't get lower. It's a point of just pure absentness, but the only of good. So all you're left with is pure pain, which is why it's easy to deal with that, to really deal with that stuff if you acknowledge it and are aware of, I'm at rock bottom. If you're at that point and you really think, how much would it hurt me if I acknowledge my pain that got me here, you'll be surprised to be like, like I'm actually in this moment not afraid of anything that's ever happened to me. I don't feel shame. I don't feel fear. I don't feel anything because I'm in a moment, rock bottom, a vibration that embodies all of those at once at their lowest form. So there's not one thing I've done that's worse than where I'm at. That moment is the moment where you have to acknowledge and address everything almost simultaneously. by simply acknowledge the kind of just the frequency itself. All because it encompasses everything that exists within that realm
Be a big motivator for change.
yeah. I mean, but like as a literal thing, like if you are at rock bottom, the best way I could explain is if you are at rock bottom, it is essentially the lowest human vibration.
Well,
In that lowest vibration, you can, by addressing the frequency itself and the root itself, you can tie to everything that's wrapped up in it. Everything, sadness, fear, shame, hatred, all of those things. So anything you've done associated with it, I'm telling you, everything will have a new perspective. I mean, that's what repentance is. That's what being reborn again is you essentially, everything is redone, but not erased. It's just understood. And the only way to understand your pain that holds you back is to acknowledge it. And most people aren't able to do that. That's why I say when you're at rock bottom, that is the easiest time to do it, surprisingly, because that is the time where emotionally and vibrationally you are it. You're not separated from it. There's nowhere you can run from. You are it.
And there's also something tangible to look back at, saying that that's where I was. I don't want to.
But even if you're at that rock bottom and you look back at that pain, you'll notice it doesn't hurt you. The thought, none of it hurts you.
Yeah,
because you're already embodying the lowest frequency, the lowest emotion, the worst feelings about yourself. That's what rock bottom is. When you're already at the worst of the worst, you don't look back at your past and go, that makes me feel shame. No, it makes me feel nothing. That's your moment. That's your moment to deal with it, because that's when you can actually change it, and what you change will tie to all of it. It's an underrated thing. It's massive. Repentance has a serious psychological and scientific, scientifically psychological.
We got a So True from JBSTL. Ooh, STL, St. Louis? You in St. Louis, man? Or
STL.
She? We are as well. But there's something I wanted to say, and for you guys watching, thank you for chiming into the chat. We love you guys. Please give the channel a follow. We do this show live every Wednesday night, and we love to respond. Like if we're talking about something, you have something to add in, we're not going to call you out or dox you or anything. We're going to respond to your message, and we're going to address it in opposition to whatever we're talking about. We're going to drop it and talk to you guys, because Meta Perspective Podcast is not meta
without your perspective.
But thanks for joining in. Thanks for subscribing. And, usually we like to keep these episodes from being too long. And at a certain point, we kind of have to give our summarizing ending thoughts. And it's probably time to do that for tonight. But I did want to say one thing kind of before I get into that. And it was going off of something you were saying. And this kind of goes to like, just as we were talking about being able to kind of frame your perspective and deal with things, and that having like snowball or butterfly effects. Like one thing that I've been working with my fiance is that, she has to go to work sometimes, and wake up, get ready, go to an office. I work fully remotely, so I don't quite feel that dread of waking up and everything sucking because I have to get ready and go to work and do a bunch of shit that I don't want to do. I just kind of roll out of bed and do it, which is by design, by the way. But
Law of attraction.
And exactly.
I don't want to drive to work. I'll save my gas.
A lot of times she wakes up and she's like, grumble, grumble, grumble. That's all I hear is grumble, grumble, grumble. And I've told her this several times, and I've worked with her and be like, You know, one of my biggest philosophies is when you wake. God damn it, these dogs.
I think it's thundering outside.
Oh yeah.
I keep seeing flashes through the window.
But all right, so one of my biggest philosophies is when you wake up, that's your chance to start the reaction for the rest of your day. Are you going to make it positive or negative? So I'll wake up and be like, "Morning, baby. I love you. I'm going to go brush my teeth and take the dog out." You know, that's where I would like to wake up. And that I can tell that when I do that, that influences our reactions for the rest of the day. Sometimes when she wakes up and she's tired or something like that, she kind of has this like grumbly thing going on. And I can tell how it affects her day and it affects my day too. When she does that, it affects me because now I know that her mentality is in this negative, I don't want to do this day. And like that's one thing that you guys can do out there is when you wake up, whether you're next to someone or not, if it's not, "Hey, good morning, baby," you know, blah, 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 say that to yourself. Just be like, "Good morning, self. Like, we got some stuff to do today, but, you know, like,
I mean,
find something there because that's going to make the hugest difference."
The best thing you can do is stay off your phone. When you wake up in the morning, don't grab your phone.
That's huge too.
Like, when you wake up in the morning, the reason you don't get out of bed is because you're so comfortable. When you wake up, don't grab your phone. Just lay there, feel that feeling of comfort, and just think about all the things you're happy for. Think about where you're at, what you have got done. Don't worry about what you haven't got done. Just think about all the stuff you did do. Think about where you're at. Think about, you know, even if it's little accomplishments, things you didn't have to do, but you did. And be grateful. Be grateful that you did it. Be grateful to the people you have. And really start your day framing out why you're in a good place to have a good day. You know, it's easy to wake up and be like, today's going to be a good day, and just have that energy. Right. But if you don't
want it to be fake.
But if you do, yeah, exactly. And it's real for some people. Right. But if you don't have that, wake up and give yourself a reason. You know, why is today going to be a good day? Well, because my friends got my back. Because if anything goes wrong, I know there's people I can turn to. Because worst case scenario, like, I got enough people around me that, like, I'll be okay. Worst case scenario, there's other options. Worst case scenario, I don't even have to go through this. I could find another option. You start to realize, like, I have plenty of things to be grateful for, and what's ahead of me isn't set in stone. I have the option to change it. So I'm going to go into this knowing that I'm unstoppable.
And dialing that up another level, like, let's say you're worried, like, let's say you have an interview or a test, or there's a critical thing that's happening, and you wake up that morning and you're like, okay, I'm anticipating this event. I'm nervous for it. I know this is going to impact my life significantly. You know, in that moment, you can have two perspectives. You can worry about it. You can think that you may not do as well as you want to do, or you can try even fake to your own self that you have the confidence to do it, or things are going to go well, even if in the back of your mind you kind of are like maybe it's a doubtful situation, maybe it's a Hail Mary, but it's better for the outcome if you in some way convince yourself that it's possible. There's less than there is more than a 1% or 0% chance that you're going to succeed. You know, even if it's 99.59999%, it's not a 0%. Like, there is a chance, and you gotta be open to that possibility versus being so doubtful that it's going to go well, because then you're going to go into that situation expecting it to go negatively, and you're gonna brush your teeth. You're going to make your breakfast, and the whole time you're going to be worrying, and you're blood vessels are going to shrink, your heart's going to beat faster, you're going to release endocrine chemicals that make you in a stress environment, like you're going to die.
Which
be
is
mauled
why
by a saber-toothed tiger.
Which is why I say stay away from the phone too. Because especially if you notice yourself in that, stay away from the phone. Because when you're in that, what it's telling you is we're not okay. When you get on the phone is just a way to distract you. Next thing you know, okay, I have to leave for work in 5 minutes, and I haven't gotten myself to a place where I'm ready for it. I'm still dreading it like I did before, and I've just prolonged dealing with it instead of just changing it. And I think that's probably the most common, is being like, I don't want to go, but let me do things that give me that
mentally
instinct.
face that.
Yeah, let me get some instant gratification out the way, some brain rot, and then it's like back to reality. I still have to go.
Right.
It's like, now I got to hurry.
And this goes back to what we were saying earlier, is that most people, that they don't, there's so much stimulus. It's like, it's easier to deal with things that we like than deal with our own shit. And most people, when they deal with their shit, they have a negative outlook because they don't understand that their mind is not them. It's a mental tool that works on electricity. It's literally a fucking computer attached to our soul. And when it makes us freak out, just realize that it's freaking out for a reason, because 60,000 years ago, you might actually die if people didn't like you. But now there's really no consequences. You could literally just go on a train and like be ordinary and invasive as fuck to people, and like, you might get arrested, you might get a ticket, but like, you're not going to die. You're not going to lose all of your shit. It's like, there are really no consequences in our modern world.
Unless somebody else there kills you because that's what they wanted.
Well, yeah. Well, okay,
bad
example.
Subway, and I was
I said train, but you're right. Subway, it's underground.
Tomato.
There's no escape. You can't just jump off the tracks. You can't become a hobo and move to Chicago and jump on the caboose. But I guess the art of what I'm saying is that it's all a game of how you view situations and how you view your own situation. Even if you're lying to yourself, it's better than accepting defeat and despair. Like, if you are in that mindset of defeat and despair, please lie to yourself. Do some mental gymnastics to say that there is a chance that I'll succeed. There is a reason why I'm doing this. Like, don't lie to yourself in the way that you're doing something against what everything else is telling you should stop doing. It's nuanced. I realize that. I'm not trying to tell you to just ignore all your instincts, but when you're faced with that moment where you have doubts, you have fear, you have anxiety, the only way to break out of that is to somehow frame that situation as, okay, what's the worst that could happen? Am I going to get fired? Am I going to get arrested? Am I going to lose my house? Most of the time, the answer is no. You might embarrass yourself. You might lose that deal or that sale that you're trying to prep for. You might fail that class or that test. You might strike out with that girl or that person that you're trying to impress or court or anything like that. And at the end of the day, life goes on and you learn from that situation, and you're not done based on that one scenario. So, the same way that you would survive an attack from a saber-toothed tiger, you can survive a mental attack scenario if it's internal. Like if someone's yelling at you and all that, like that's different. But like this is all.
But even if somebody's yelling at you,
of the mind.
But even if somebody's yelling at you, there's an understanding that like
there's a way to handle it.
Yeah, this isn't a saber-toothed tiger. Like this is something I can handle.
Exactly.
I can't handle a tiger.
And you don't.
I wouldn't want.
Exactly.
Wouldn't even try.
And I think that's kind of where I'm getting at. Like this is kind of my closing thoughts in a way is that to gain control gives you the power to not only take control of your life, but to take control of your mental trajectory, and to be able to be resilient and build a foundation to where, me, I used to be someone who was, anytime I was in a group, I would listen to the person and I would be thinking in my head, how do I connect with them? What's the way to impress them? What's my best scenario that they could go from here? I was thinking way too much. I was doing all this stuff in my head, and I never really focused on what was happening in front of me. And as soon as I quieted the mind, I realized how to gain the mental control. I silenced all of that, and I was just there, and I listened, and without any effort at all, like just the answers and the mood, like my physical and mental and emotional mood and mindset and frame was just transformed. But it took practice. It doesn't happen overnight. You can't just lie to yourself.
It's just like trauma. You go through bad things, and those bad things, they teach you something. You go through something else. Instead of correcting it, you remember how you felt last time, and you just react negatively. And until you react so many times that's now the framework.
Yeah.
You got to rewire it.
And that's all I have to say about that. I hope you guys enjoyed Mind series, and I want to give you a chance to say anything else as well.
I got to pee again.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Well, we got to close it off better.
Let me pee, and then I'll come back and do that.
Jamie Goddard and JBSTL, thank you guys. If you are watching this in post, or if you're watching this now, please give the channel a follow and the video a like. We love you guys. This is the end of our Mind series. We're going to do some more shit. Check out other videos and let us know what kind of stuff you guys want to hear.
Don't forget to throw out options. We want to hear what you want to hear about. We want to talk with you about what you're talking about. So until next time, Meta Perspective out.
Meta Perspective Podcast.